In this video, we're going to learn what it takes to change calibers on the Dillon XL650 5-station progressive reloading press. Specifically, we're going to be taking a look at changing calibers retaining the same primer size. So what we're going to do is change over from the 22-250 rifle caliber to the 45 ACP pistol caliber, both using a large primer size. The first thing we're going to do to change over calibers is to dump our consumables. So we're going to start with the powder measure, dump the powder and remove the measure, and then we're going to follow that by removing the primers from the system. The first step in removing the powder measure is going to be to remove the FailSafe Rod. So the first thing that we're going to do to remove the FailSafe Rod is going to be to raise the ram of the press slightly, and then to remove the sliding bushing collar, and then to pivot the rod out of the way. We now have the rod off the press. You'll notice that I've got a custom tool rack for the Dillon XL650. This is where I keep all of my tools and accessories, primer pickup tubes, large and small slides for the powder measure, lock rings, priming parts, that kind of thing. So I'm going to take my T-handle Allen wrench and use that to remove the powder measure. On the Dillon XL650 powder measure, there are two Allen screws that secure the powder measure to the powder die. So what I'm going to do is going to be to take the T-handle Allen wrench, and I'm going to back this out enough so that I can slide the front half of the clamp assembly back and lift the powder measure off the top of the powder die. So I'm going to lift this forward. You can see that motion lifting that forward, and then the powder measure is just going to lift off. One of the handy parts of the Dillon XL650 equipment stand is the ability to just set the powder measure on this stand so that I can store the powder measure here, and I can also do other things like get my powder canister ready. I can take the top off of the powder measure and then go ahead and dump this powder out of the measure. Now, since the XL650 has a powder baffle built in, you kind of need to dump it and then twist it slightly to get the powder that's behind the baffle. And I'll continue, spilled a little bit there, I'll continue to rotate this and then take the measure and manually dispense a couple times. Since I don't have a full tube of primers, what I'm going to do to dispense the rest of these primers, or to empty the tube rather, is going to be to just lift the ram slightly, and then to cut my hand under the primer slide, and then manually advance the priming system until we are all empty. I'm just going to keep shuffling these primers out of the slide that they drop into, and we've got our alarm going off, so I'm going to take the drop rod out there, the weighted rod that gives us our proper feed and indication of low primers. So we're just going to continue to advance until we're all out. And there we have it. Since we're loading the same primer size, our system is now empty and ready for our pistol primers. Now that we've emptied our consumables, we need a strategy. What we're going to do is work our way from the bottom of the press upward. So we're going to work on the different systems incrementally. I like to start by putting the caliber conversion kit boxes out for the caliber that I'm dismantling and for the caliber that I'm going to be switching to. So we've got these caliber conversion kit boxes out, and what we're going to do is we're going to just open these so that we are ready to swap out components. So we're going to take our bullet tray and set that aside. I'm using a custom bullet tray that's compatible with my steel stand. And then we're going to move on to the shell plate area. So the first step is going to be to remove the brass locator pins. There's 3 of those, so we're going to take those off and then put them in the caliber conversion kit box. The next step is going to be removing the shell plate itself. So the first thing we want to do is to raise the ram completely. The next step is to loosen the screw that secures the bolt which secures the shell plate. This is an interesting feature because it allows you to set the amount of tension that you want between the shell plate and the subplate, meaning that you can really dial in the feel of how the shell plate indexes. We don't need to take this guy all the way out. You really just need to loosen it. Next, we're going to lower the ram and loosen the center bolt, which secures the shell plate itself. And this is mostly a hand loosening job here. So we're going to work this bolt out, the center bolt. Also remove the ejector wire. We can then take the shell plate and lift it free. Careful to leave the spring detent ball, which controls the indexing behavior. Next, we're going to raise the ram until the inserter for the case is out of the way of the case feed guide, and then we're going to take the case feed guide out. We can just lift this part right out. Now in this case, we're actually using the same shell plate and the same case feed guide with 45 ACP and with 22-250, but I'm going to show you how to replace these parts nonetheless. So the shell plate that we're going to use for our new caliber gets put in place, and then we're going to set the ejector wire in its proper orientation. We can press down with some slight pressure here against that detent ball to validate that it's properly seated and that our holes are roughly concentric. We're then going to take this center bolt and then start to press it down and then tighten this bolt into place so that our ejector wire and shell plate are secured properly. Continue to press down. What you want is for it to be just basically finger tight. Then we're going to raise the ram a couple times, and we can tighten this shell plate until it's barely snug. We just got the ejector wire basically out of the way. And it's easy to over tighten, so continue to test, and when you feel it get stiff, back it off just a little bit. So there we're stiff. We're going to just barely loosen it until the shell plate rotates freely. Now we're ready to secure the lock nut for this center bolt. So we're going to raise the ram. We're going to take our Allen key, get that inserted properly, and gently snug this lock nut. And then confirm that the shell plate still rotates freely, but that there's no excessive free play.